talking to a family member when I was younger. Buying into the stereotype, he asked the young Indian girl, "What do you want to be when you're older? Is it a doctor?" "No," I replied, feeling like a rebel. "I want to be a spy." And for the next 3 years, I worked hard in school and in sports to meet the qualifications of becoming a spy. And then one day, I watched the movie Zero Dark 30. If you don't know, it's a movie about the spy who found bin Laden. While watching that movie, I realized that I couldn't stand to torture people, so I gave up on my quest to become a spy. It was as easy as that. In a matter of minutes, I gave up on what I had thought was my sole reason for working hard. But now that I think about it, I believe I just wanted a goal. In general, students that believe they have a goal to achieve perform better in school. This might have been the reason why I created such an outlandish goal. Because no one really knows the qualifications for becoming a spy, I could never do anything but put my best foot forward in whatever I decided to pursue. In other words, I created a fake goal that I really didn't care about, and that goal kept me motivated to get good grades and stay active throughout middle school. So I wondered, why doesn't that work other times? Why can't we create a goal and use it as motivation? Why doesn't it work when we create that New Year's resolution to, say, lose 15 pounds? Well, after examining my past, I realized something about myself. I'd been depressed coming into middle school. I would stay holed up in my room for weeks at a time and wonder about my imperceivable existence in the world and how I was of any use. I know, dark thoughts for an 11-year-old. So I realized that I really needed to get out of my slump. So I created this goal out of desperation to have something to work towards. There's a story about a young Chinese girl who grew up during the time of the Communist Revolution. She'd originally come from a rich family with 4 houses, maids, all the clothes she could ask for, and then the communists came and took everything away. Her family was left with barely enough to survive. And that same girl grew up, got married, had kids, and then her husband died. And the responsibility of providing for her family fell onto her shoulders. But at that time, it was very difficult for her to find a job because women weren't expected to work. But she knew she had to provide for her kids and her brother and his family, who were also barely getting by. So she decided to come to the land of opportunity. She took whatever she can carry, worked to get her papers, and she and her kids came to America. That same day, while walking on the street, carrying everything she owned in a bag, that woman got mugged. And she lost everything. But here's the interesting part. She didn't give up. She had every reason to. She'd lost all of her possessions. She was cornered. But her hardships encouraged her to work harder than she would have otherwise. She started making shirts and selling them for pennies. She and her family lived off that for years. She eventually saved enough to send her son through college. Motivation is a natural instinct. People like having a goal or a purpose, and we have a tendency to work hard and consistently when our goals or the very things that we say that we live for are at risk. Say something threatened the lives of your family. How far would you go to keep them safe? And I wonder, can we really manipulate our own motivational drives? Can we put our own purposes at risk to achieve something? Well, it's possible, but unlikely. Because we as human beings won't deliberately put our own purposes at risk to achieve something. So what can we do? I want to tell you something that I've learned in my short 18 years of life. Everyone has something that he or she believes is their weakness, whether it may be financial issues, health issues, or family issues. We can channel these negative feelings that arise from these things into something positive. Say for my own health issues, for example. I have asthma and a heart murmur. I remember gym class in elementary school, all the kids would have to run a lap around the field in order to warm up. and I'd always be that last kid, behind everyone else, and panting like a maniac. I was a competitive kid, so this upset me. I didn't like that I had to work twice as hard to achieve the same results as everyone else, and this feeling of frustration stayed with me for a while. And then I got older, and I decided to pursue soccer and track. And when I felt that same feeling of frustration that I had felt in the past, I decided to do something about it. I used that feeling to use it to achieve something positive. I started running whenever I could. I remember waking up at 6 a.m. and running a mile every day until my mom finally caught me this one time and yelled at me because I wasn't allowed to get out so early. So I started running in the afternoons. I kept running even when I could feel my heartbeat through my ears. I kept running even when it felt like my muscles would give up on me. I pushed harder than I had ever pushed myself before, and I became faster. I wouldn't get tired as quickly. So this is how you can manipulate your mind to stay motivated. Say you have a setback. Don't let it push you to give up on something. Instead, use it. Let it fuel you to do what you want to do. And there's one last thing that I want to tell you. It's a quote by Ernest Hemingway. "The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places." What I want you to get out of this quote is that sometimes our biggest weaknesses can become our greatest strengths. A weakness is nothing bad. It is absolutely okay to have a weakness, but never let it make you give up on something. Like that young Indian girl who created a goal out of desperation to get out of her slump. Use your weaknesses to your advantage. Thank you.